British painter Francis Bacon said that beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. This colorful world has more than 10,000 cities, and each one has its personality and charm. Some are hundreds of years old and were made by skilled craftsmen. They are still going strong today thanks to the hard work of residents who want to keep their town's history alive by keeping landmarks and the world's most beautiful museums in good shape and opening historic hotels. Some are younger at heart, with communities that bring new ways of living to the forefront, from how we design to how we eat to the technology we use. Today, we'll discuss top 10 most beautiful cities in the world. Let's get started. Number 10. Kyoto, Japan. It seems like time has stopped in Kyoto. This old Japanese capital has the charm of an old city where people still wear kimonos, as well as more modern neighborhoods. It is one of the few Japanese cities that weren't bombed during the Second World War, so almost all of its buildings and history are still there. Kyoto is the cultural and film center of Japan. It is on the island of Honshu. Here, there are more than 1,600 Buddhist temples, 400 Shinto shrines, old imperial villas, movie studios, and more than 200 gardens that are thought to be the most beautiful in the country because of the variety of plants that grow there. His university is also one of the best in Japan, so a lot is going on there. Number 9. Dubrovnik, Croatia. During the Balkan War, it was one of the cities that were bombed the most because it had the most damage. Even though it was hurt, this European city has been able to bring back the beauty of its past. This old city, known as the Pearl of the Adriatic, because of how important it was in the arts and sciences, is hidden behind a wall. Inside it, we find a city that is the color of ochre and has a unique atmosphere that mixes art and tradition. Knights, fishermen, thieves, kings, and merchants once walked its streets. Many of the old craftsmen's homes have been turned into galleries, workshops, or small shops. This city's beauty has inspired TV shows like Game of Thrones, which has used it as a set for many of its seasons. But this is one of the most beautiful cities in the world, even without the movies. Number 8. St. Petersburg, Russia. Russia is home to a city called Venice of the North because it has canals and more than 300 bridges. It also has opulent palaces left over from the time of the Tsars. St. Petersburg is one of the most beautiful cities ever because of its architecture. But there's a lot more to it than that. This city was once the capital of Russia. Its streets and squares saw some of the bloodiest parts of the country's history. Now, it is an open-air museum that is covered by snow in the winter. Its cathedrals, palaces, and other buildings stand out because of their bright colors. The Hermitage Museum has some of the best art in the world, and visitors can also see some of the rooms from the time of the Romanovs. Nevsky is the center of all communication in St. Petersburg, which is where most of the city's most modern buildings are located. It is the most active part of the city, where life is anything but static. Number 7. Prague, Czech Republic. This city in a fairy tale is one of the most beautiful in Europe, and not just because of its buildings. It also has a special sense of art. It has produced some of the world's best musicians, writers, and filmmakers who have given the city its bohemian feel. Many people have said that it is like Paris in this way. Its medieval feel can take us back to a different time. Its old town, the Charles Bridge, and the astronomical clock are just some of the treasures that bring more and more tourists to the city every year. Number 6. Cape Town, South Africa. Cape Town is a must-see on any trip to South Africa, and it may be one of the most diverse cities in Africa, and has done the best job of blending its European roots with its African personality. The most interesting thing about it is the bright colors of its houses. Like its surroundings, it is mostly made up of untouched nature. We can find big hills and lots of plants, as well as beaches with clear water and penguin colonies, like Simon's Town or a seal island, Hout Bay. Some of the best vineyards in the country are also very close to the city. Cape Town's history still shows that many leaders of the movement against apartheid were born there. Nelson Mandela gave a speech that marked the start of a new era for the country in this city. Number 5. Bergen, Norway. It is one of the most beautiful cities in the world and one of the most photographed cities in Norway. Its old neighborhood, Bryggen, was once home to the Hanseatic League. The colorful houses in Bryggen are what we remember most about the city. It is in the middle of 7 hills, and some of them are known to be where their well-known trolls live. It is also the place where you can get to the Norwegian fjords. So it shouldn't be a surprise that it is one of the best places to stop and look at this natural wonder. Some of Edvard Munch's most famous paintings are on display at the KOD Museum. We'll get a better taste of it at the port, where street vendors sell some of the best food in the country. They are known for their salmon and dried cod. Number 4. Istanbul, Turkey. Istanbul, which is halfway between Europe and Asia, is a good example of how old traditions and modern ideas from the West can live together. At first, it was called Byzantium, and then it was changed to Constantinople. In the oldest part of the city, you can still feel its history. There are some of the city's most important buildings, like the Blue Mosque, Hagia Sophia, the Cisterna Basilica, the Topkapi Palace, and the Grand Bazaar. On the other side of the Bosphorus, where culture and life have become much more westernized, is its most cosmopolitan area. Istanbul has become more open to the rest of the world without changing who it is as a city. It is also the only city where we can change continents by just crossing a bridge. Number 3. San Francisco, USA. People say that the City of the Slopes is one of the most beautiful places in the US. It is one of the most popular places for tourists to go because it has a lot of gardens, parks where you can get away from the city, and beaches. The Golden Gate is one of America's most famous landmarks. So is Lamo Square, where the well-known painted ladies can be found. The international nature of the cities is reflected in their neighborhoods. They are all different and full of life. It is also a city with a lot of entertainment, performing arts, music, and museums. Number 2. Italy's Venice. More than 100 small islands are connected by more than 400 bridges to make up the city of the channels. Its main attraction is that it is a pedestrian-only city, with only boats allowed to travel through its channels. Because of this, Venice is known as the most romantic and unique city in Europe. It shows the work of many artists. There is a Venetian school of painting, and you can see examples of it in many museums around the world. It is known for its Renaissance architecture in the Plaza de San Marcos. There are some of the most popular Italian cafes and restaurants among tourists. It was also a very important center for music in Italy. Vivaldi was born here, and the Opera Coliseum is one of the most famous in the world. Number 1. San Miguel de Allende, Mexico. This Mexican city is one of the quietest in the middle of the country. It is in the state of Guanajuato, and it is also one of the most beautiful cities in the world. It has both a colonial past, which can be seen in many of its buildings, and a Mexican spirit. This is clear from the many canteens on its streets, in its markets, in its food, and in many of its museums. It was also a key part of the Mexican War of Independence, which is why Miguel Hidalgo's route goes through the city today. San Miguel de Allende has a lot going on in terms of art and culture, and it is surrounded by a lot of green and forested areas. A nature reserve called El Charco is just a few minutes from the historic center. It has a botanical garden and a water system from the colonial era. That was all for today. Next time you are trying to escape the regular life and have some fun, check out our channel to get the best ideas and take your trip to the next level. I hope you liked the video. Subscribe to our channel for more amazing content. See you in the next video.